Briana Aldridge joined by Patrik Walker from Cowboys.com for week 2 of Cowboys OTAs. This is the point of the year where everyone gets really excited, but not too much. We talked about this earlier, to really observe because the pads aren't on, but they're still out there. Last week, Dak Prescott was the story because he's back for the first time since his injury on the field. But today, I want to talk about what Shotty talked about, and that was Mr. Tyler Guyton, the guy who had a little bit of not the season he wanted, his rookie season. But what did you make of what Shotty said? And then we also got to hear a little bit from Tyler himself.
First and foremost, let's start with what Tyler Guyton said. And the main takeaway is accountability. You talk to this young man, and he's already speaking maturely beyond his years. But he outwardly says that last season, his rookie season, was not up to par for him. It was not up to standard. He's begun making some drastic changes this offseason, primarily with his diet, what he's no longer eating, what he is now consuming. And you can see it in his frame. He's leaner, but it looks like he still has some strength, and he's still gaining some strength. And that goes to what Schottenheimer was talking about, praising the young man, saying he's working his backside off, seeing the progression that he's making. Going to be a pivotal year, too, for Tyler Guyton, protecting Dak's blind side. But so far, he's off to a good, promising start.
And I think it was a kind of a key moment when what I heard from him when he was asked about, was going from right tackle to left tackle, the pro level, and he automatically shut that down. And like you said, taking accountability, like he's not making excuses. And I mean, I think it's everything. Again, week 2 of OTAs, okay? We haven't even hit June, but I feel like that's what you want to hear from a guy. Your left tackle is going into a second season.
Most certainly. So many times in the NFL, you'll have young guys, year 1, year 2 guys who have a difficult time, not just transitioning, but being able to own the challenges that they're having and the opportunities that they need to improve. And they aren't as focused and keyed in on A, B, and C as far as attack this, attack that, attack this. That doesn't seem to be the issue with Tyler Guyton. He came into this offseason with a plan. He got with the Cowboys nutritionist as far as altering his diet. He's in the weight room. He's leaning down, but he's still gaining some muscle mass. I asked him specifically, is he at his ideal frame, or is he looking to tweak more going into training camp? And he said he's looking to tweak more going into training camp. Presumably that's going to be adding some muscle mass, adding some strength to be able to help protect Dak's blind side. But again, off to a good start. But like you said, Bree, pump the brakes. This is still late May, early June. There's a lot to be prepared for. So let's give him some grace there.
We got to hear from the other Tyler, one of the other Tylers. I know.
There's 3.
There's 3. I can't keep up. I can't imagine they called Tyler during practice, but we got to hear from Tyler Smith.
Everybody comes around.
Right, exactly, about being the natural chosen leader. I feel like he's always had that leadership in him, but with Zach Martin gone, I think it was Osa even talked about it today, like, that's their guy. I mean, everyone since Zach has left, it's automatic. How do you feel about him taking on that leadership role?
I feel it's a twofold mentorship, and I know rightfully a lot is being said about Tyler Smith as the definitive leader in the absence and the retirement of Zach Martin, and then of course Tyron Smith, he left the year prior. But I will say it's a co-op between Tyler Smith and Terrence Steele. A lot of people forget that Terrence Steele is the elder statesman now with Zach Martin no longer on the field on that Cowboys offensive line. So for me, I'm looking at how Terrence Steele can talk to a guy like Tyler Booker, how he can then feed off of Cooper Beebe, a year 2 guy who now gets to feed off of Tyler Smith, and then of course Tyler Guyton mixes into that as well at left tackle. So for me, the interior, the mentorship is going to come from Tyler Smith. But as far as a whole, it's going to have to be a co-op between Tyler Smith and Terrence Steele. Those 2 guys are going to have to lead that young room.
Now let's go defense, only because we got to hear from Demarvion Overshown, number 0. Okay, that was the first question. Obviously, he got his number that he always wanted. He got it from Rowdy. Love that for him. What do you make of his wanting to come back? I think he almost guaranteed us he's going to be here for that Kansas City Chiefs game.
I love his confidence. To know Demarvion Overshown is to know the strength of his faith. Is to know the strength of his conviction. And this is a young man, when you see and you hear him talk, there's very little, if any, self-doubt. He believes in the greater plan that has gotten him to this point, brought him through the first torn ACL, and then now it's a torn ACL on the opposite knee. But the beauty of it is, if you're looking at for a silver lining, is he's been through the process, so he has these checkpoints already in his mind to say, well, this is where I was in the last rehab. And he said oftentimes, as we talked to him in the locker room, he kept saying, I'm ahead of schedule. I'm ahead of schedule. I'm ahead of schedule. Now, does that mean definitively he will be on the field in 2025? Not definitively, because it's a medical situation. You have to let the cards play as they may. Optimistically, though, I believe there's an excellent chance he will be on the field. He virtually guaranteed he'd be on the field by Thanksgiving when the Cowboys take on the Kansas City Chiefs. I'd say put a pin in that. Hopefully, and is it possible? Yes, it is. But again, he has to continue to move at the right pace. Do not rush it because you could risk a setback that could risk the entire season. But so far, so very good for Demarvion Overshown.
Overshown.
Agent 0, if you will.
Agent 0, yes. I have to call him correctly. He's very optimistic with injury. Last week we heard from Dak. He says exactly, he's where he wants to be at this point in the season. This is Briana Aldridge and Patrik Walker, not getting too over the hill here.
We're right here.
Right here. But it's
Even
a lot of optimism happening
Yeah, that's fair.
at the start.
That's fair.
That's it for now. For Briana Aldridge, for Patrik Walker.